Welcome to the Alchemy Brothers Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Strong. And as I've mentioned in our previous 2 podcast episodes, the Alchemy Brothers are going through a process of evolution in 2024, where we're looking to expand the breadth and depth of our work, increase the offerings, increase the impact to the men who come and join us at our events. As part of that evolution as well, we're expanding the team and welcoming 3 new members into the core facilitation team. We've met Rui and we've met Dom in the previous 2 episodes, and today we're meeting V, who will be also on our team and leading the facilitation of our upcoming initiation retreat, which is the 11th to the 14th of April. So we highly recommend getting in touch and reaching out to secure your place. V is a dynamic professional who has transitioned from the corporate world through a journey of self-discovery and purpose. In this exploration, V has a passion for men's work and discovered that passion within himself, dedicating himself to creating transformative experiences for others. With a focus on personal growth and connection, V is committed to advancing men's work within Portugal. Drawing on his experience from running a successful holistic center in Sintra in Portugal, V is adept at creating environments that are conducive to deep transformation and growth. He's also a seasoned movement practitioner and educator, bringing a wealth of knowledge in guiding others in their journey towards physical and spiritual alignment. To complement this diverse skill set, V is also a talented musician when bringing that unique dimension to his work. So I'm looking forward to getting into conversation with you today, V, and exploring some of those aspects and many more, I'm sure.
Thank you, Jacob. It's a pleasure for me to be here as well.
Mm-hmm. So before we get into it, maybe we just take a moment to pause. So I invite you, wherever you are listening to this, just to take a moment to stop what you are doing. You can either have the eyes opened or closed. And I invite you to pay attention to the very next breath that you take. Notice the shape of the breath, the length of the breath, the depth of the breath. Notice how it is that your body makes contact with the ground beneath you, whether it's the chair, whether it's the floor, the soles of the feet. And with connection to ground and breath, maybe noticing how you are. And with that, V, I invite you perhaps to check in with us as well. And how are you doing right now? What's happening for you? What's most alive in your world?
Hey everyone. Yes, I can check in. I would like to check in. First of all, I just want to mention I'm really grateful to be here and also to finally land on a place that resonates with me here in Portugal. I've been struggling a bit to find my new home lately, and I finally found it last week, so I can settle in and ground a bit. Before starting my next journey. What is alive for me at the moment? So first of all, last week I was really happy to see my son after a month's travel to India. So I was really happy to see him and to spend some quality time with him. And now that I finally settling here, I would then love to indeed dedicate some of my time to develop the Alchemy Brothers, and also to use the tools I've been learning in the past years, such as music and movement to combine these two tools and to see how I can use them within men's work. So yeah, that's a bit let's say my priorities. But actually today I feel really good. I feel calm, and I feel pretty grounded, and yeah, also excited for the next journey as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm also feeling a sense of calm and groundedness. Last night I actually slept well. And I think for any parents of young children out there, I think those nights are precious, and you hold them, and the next day it feels a little bit brighter and a little bit lighter. So yeah, grateful to have slept quite well with my 6-month-old baby boy, and yeah, feeling just a little bit more awake, a little bit more alive, and excited to dive in today with you. And already a few little threads there that are beginning to open up. You've touched upon a journey. You've touched upon practices, and yeah, I wonder if you could share a little bit about your experiences. I know you've just come back from India. You've spent some time there, but I think maybe there's been a bit more of a process that's been happening in the lead up to India, to your decision to go to India. And I know some things from last year that perhaps you wish to share. So maybe just paint a bit of a picture of what's been happening for you, in this recent period.
Yeah, of course. I think yeah, I'm not sure where to start, but let's say yeah, last year has been. I feel that last year I learned so many things, and I've been through so many things compared to the previous years before. But I would say everything started when I started this holistic center in Sintra called Casa Sama. So it was a project, I think, that started around November 2022. And I felt really that calling to do so because I was before in doing different things in personal development. I really felt the calling to also be on the other side and create a space for transformation and also facilitate. Because before that, as part of my journey, I've been attending retreats, workshops, and I've learned a lot. I think I've uncovered many things from my life, and I really felt that it was a time for me to be on the other side and to take a bigger role in that field. And yeah, it's been a beautiful journey. Actually, the vision that I had for Casa Sama was, I think it's still on the Instagram page. It's a really intimate home for creating transformative experience. And what I felt is, and I did not expect that, is that I felt I really embodied the transformation. Like I felt really the transformation. I lived it myself. Even if it's something that I wanted to create for others, I think it was necessary for me to fully live it. And yeah, I think during that time, I connected to many different things that somehow I forgot, or that I got repressed, such as music. So music has been really important for me during my childhood or teenage time, and due to some events, I completely repressed it. And actually, last year, the new project allowed me to come back to it. As I remember, right, we did the opening ceremony. I decided actually to open the ceremony with my voice and then with the guitar. So it was a beautiful ritual for me to come back to it. During that day, it was really powerful, and I really felt something that changed within my system when this happened. And I met beautiful people. I really connected well with my purpose. I really felt that I was aligned with what I wanted to do. Because before that, let's say I have a business background, and I started my journey in the corporate world, and somehow I was very much attached to it. I was afraid to let it go because I think I had fears to not have enough to cover my expenses, and that I'm not enough to start something on my own, and all of these fears that I'm sure other people can have as well. So that here it was really a transition between starting to be entrepreneur while still whenever needed continue that all aspect of myself working for clients, let's say. And I think last year brought many deaths and rebirths in my life in a way that yes, I think also the relationship ended with the wife, the mother of my child after 10 years. So, and I also decided as well to let go of my corporate job to really focus on my more artistic side and to nurture it with music, movement, and the holistic center. And somehow I feel that I really feel it was the right decision to let go of things, and this is part of life, I would say, to let go of things that somehow does not nurture my soul to start something new. And that was scary, but I feel that now I feel lighter and I have more space really to dedicate my time to something that resonates with me. And I think my really focus now is creating space for men's work, for music and movement. That's a bit intention for this year.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned this idea of rebirth, and to be reborn anew requires us to somehow sever from the old. It requires us to let go of certain aspects of ourself, of our way of being, of our identity, in order to bring about something that's new and that's fresh and that's maybe more true, perhaps, than what we've left behind. But being reborn is also, it's not easy. There's the fire that comes in the midst of that, and it sounds like last year was a year of equal parts, learnings, but also some challenges, I'm sure, that came through in that process. I wonder if there's anything that shines through around this part of letting go to be reborn. This idea that somehow it's also very present in our retreats. This idea of the man that enters the space is not the man that's going to leave the space. There's some kind of process that comes about where maybe it comes through with an intention, maybe it comes through with a particular problem or a challenge that he's up against, but he, in order to resolve that matter, to resolve that, to be the kind of man that can conquer that issue, he needs to let go of certain parts of himself that are perhaps holding him back or preventing him from realizing those goals. Yeah, so I wonder if you could speak to the depths of that process. Like how was it how did you find the means within yourself to bear the fire of transformation, let's say?
Well, actually, I think men's work actually helped me a lot. Last year, I mean, for I would say a year and a half, I've been running men's circle, in Sintra, where I lived last year. And I try to make it as regular as possible. I think every 2-3 weeks. But we had a decent group of men, I would say. And actually, somehow this really helped me the process because, last year when, for example, I decided to let go of the relationship, it was hard because I was 10 years with the mother of my child, and somehow I was somehow ready to stay in that specific relationship for the family, because I feel that that's a bit the image that I got used to, and I was ready somehow to do everything for the family and to stick, even if I felt there was already a disconnection for some times, and I felt that we were different, but somehow I was somehow blind, and I wanted somehow to try to fix things. I think this is really common for men, to try to fix things and solve problems. But at the end, I felt, I felt it was not possible, and I felt the best thing was actually to separate and to have our journey separated, also for the good of my son. So that was actually a hard decision, really hard decision. And I also had a lot of fears, for example, from how my family or friends will perceive me, things like this. So it was not easy. And when I was going through that process, fortunately, I had the support of men around me. Through the men's circle, I was facilitating, but also through friends, or friends that I made through the men's circle. So I think it was really helpful for me to be surrounded by people on which I can really rely on. Because going through that phase alone, it's for sure not easy. So I managed for sure to get support and during the whole process. So that was something that helped me a lot for that specific things. And then also this helped me actually to get back to my essence, to what brings me values and joy and laughter. So I think I'm a bit going here and there, but I really felt that last year being in a group of men helped me to go through that transformative journey. I would not, I mean, I don't know if I would be able to do it alone, but I felt it gave me support, and I also work as well with some therapists for me to go through that process as well.
Yeah, you touched on this kind of masculine aspect of like wanting to kind of solve the problems, let's say, and also this desire to sacrifice on behalf of the ones that we love. I think this is also quite a masculine characteristic, to sacrifice oneself in order for the betterment of those in our lives. And when that's in balance with meeting our own needs, that can be a really nice thing. But when we kind of take that out of balance and we're sacrificing and not considering ourselves in that equation, it can become quite a draining, quite a depleting experience as well. But you mentioned men's circles and the value and the power in men's circles. I wonder, for those that maybe have never heard or attended the men's circle, what is it? What does it look like? What happens there? Let's kind of open a bit of the process of what a men's circle looks like for the man that has no idea.
Yeah. Well, I think the basis for me, when I explain what is a circle, is simply I would say a support group of simply a group of men, a space for men to gather and to be listened without judgment, and to be able to be supported by the other man. That's simple as that. So it's a safe space where you can really, um, express your emotions without shame, and being listened empathetically. And the way I run circle as well, it's I like always to start with some embodiment practices to really be in the body, because there is a lot of emotion and trauma stored in the body. So I feel that when I run a circle, when we start with an embodiment practice, afterwards it is also easier for men to share, and also things can get released, and some things that we may not think about may come, and during those circles. So yeah, that's really simple. It's a gathering of men in which where we can who are listened, and in which we can share and be supported.
Beautiful. Yeah, I like this piece about embodiment being a tool to help men to drop into that space as well. I think there's this difficulty men have in really truly feeling what it is that they're going through, and the work of embodiment it's a process of coming back into the body. It's coming back into sensation. It's coming back into noticing the tightness in one's chest, or the clenching of one's jaw, or the furrowing of one's brow. By coming back in and being more aware of what we're feeling viscerally, and moving through that process as well, we are then better able to maybe give voice to what it is that we are experiencing. Oh, there's a bit of tension in my jaw. What am I holding back? What am I biting that I can't express? And when we give a little space for that, the circle just seems to really open. And you're right, for me, a men's circle it's a space to just be seen, to be heard, and to be felt. And men come and they can go to whatever depth that they want. Sometimes their experience is more calm and grounded, like we checked in earlier today. Sometimes it's more frustrated or anxious, nervous, sad, grieving, the whole spectrum of emotion. But in that space, everything is welcome. The whole diversity of emotion is welcome. And I feel there's also something really valuable about having this occurring in a regular kind of way. You mentioned that you were doing monthly circles in Kazasama. I can imagine that there was quite a culture that started to develop amongst the men there, and as you said, some friendships as well. Maybe you could speak a little bit about the sense of continuity or community that was created or being created.
Yes, of course. I think, Sintra is also a specific area. I think would say it's a community by itself. So I feel it's also very easy to pop up into the same people. But actually, it's funny that I'm now realizing that most of my friends, male friends that I have today in Portugal, also abroad, are men that I met at my circles. One circle, I would say, is more, it can be even more powerful. That's a year of meeting someone, I don't know, at the gym, for example, because we are coming into a space where we're authentic. And then just by one sharing, if you hear someone sharing something very deep and in which you resonate a lot, then there is somehow this connection that it's instant, and that then you feel resonance directly. So yes, I was also very fortunate to have I didn't run closed circle, so it wasn't specifically with the same group of men. It was open, but actually most of the same men were coming to my circle. So I was facilitating circle with yeah, I think we were around six to 12 people, but I think 4 or 5 people were regulars. So they were all constantly coming, and then yes, it's indeed easy to nurture this connection and become friends, and then so the nothing ends after the circle. I think also after the circle there is more things popping up, and things that can be nurtured outside with collaboration or other things. So yeah, I feel very grateful for that.
Mm. Yeah, the connection that's fostered in those circles, it can pervade into the rest of life. We have a men's circle that we run in the local community around here as well. I live in a village in central Portugal, and there's this regular monthly circle that's been happening for years and years before I arrived here, and will continue years and years after I leave. And we don't necessarily get every single month in the year, but when I do get to go, when I do get to attend, it's really nice to drop in with these men who, yeah, I see passing in the street from time to time, but when there's this kind of intentional space set up for going to a greater depth rather than just the superficial planes, but like, what's going on for you? What's really most meaningful for you right now? There's just something about the connection that's just really secured, let's say, in that space. And our men's circle here has quite a diversity. We have, the elders of the village, the people that have been living here for quite some time, in their 50s and 60s, attending, all the way to the younger people that are just moving here in their early 20s, and the whole range in between. We've seen men go through true success and joy, uh, anger, frustration, despair, and true grieving as well from suffering loss. And these pinnacle moments, it's so easy to kind of forget ourselves in the process and continue on with life of the family and attending to children and business and blah 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 blah. But when we can create this kind of intentional space, not only is it for connection, but it's also this opportunity to really check in with oneself and be like, wow, last month that was quite something, and an opportunity to process what was happening on a real emotional level. I found so much value in men's circles over the years as well. Mm. And it's also what we bring into our Alchemy Brothers events. Of course, when we create a container of a retreat, we don't have so much the initial sense of continuity. The initiation is kind of named that way because it gives that sense of it's a beginning. It's a stepping into. It's something that's igniting. But what we've found is that many members of the community continue to gather and meet up in various places around Portugal, whether that's through events that we've organized or whether that's through just this sense of wanting to maintain connection and wanting to support each other. It's a real, I find it really powerful, and really I feel held by the community here. And when I go through some struggles and hardships, I feel that I'm surrounded by men across this country that really allow me to face the difficulties in a little bit more composure, let's say. So I wonder, the initiation retreats, maybe we dive in there. Maybe that's what's calling us. Like, how was that experience for you? I know you attended one of our earliest retreats of the initiation. and you mentioned that men's work has become a bit of a theme around your life. So maybe even before that, what was your gateway into men's work, and then how was your experience into the initiation?
Yeah, yeah, I think I attended the initiation 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was a beautiful experience. But I think um, before I moved to Portugal, I was living in Belgium, and somehow I really felt that I did not really have a safe space for me really to express deeply my emotions within men. And I'm not sure if I could find something such circle in Brussels back in the time. So yeah, I felt I had a lot of things I wanted to share, but I was afraid to do so. I didn't feel safe enough with other men at that moment, at that time, to do so. Of course, I have, and I had friends, but somehow I think we never share things as deep as in a circle. So that's probably why I did not feel safe to do so at that moment. So when I arrived to Portugal, I was fortunate to see and to be in touch with many offerings. And I think I saw your ads, I believe, on Facebook, and it really resonated a lot with what I was looking for. And so I just signed up. I just felt it was instant. I think I just felt I had to go. I did not know what to expect. And wow, it was a beautiful experience. I think we're a nice group of men. And I really remember the first time. I mean, when we opened the retreat, or with the first opening circle, I think it was the very first time at that moment that I was sharing in front of a big amount of men. And I remember that when I was sharing, I had my voice shaking. Somehow I'm not sure what I shared, but my voice was shaking. I think it was releasing something, and I had almost tears, and I did not understand why. It was somehow a bit. I felt a bit embarrassed at that moment, actually, to cry in front of men. But that was at the end a beautiful experience. But it was, I think, a very powerful experience. It was my very first time sharing among men, and it made something. And since then, I really felt the power of holding and being part of such circle, because yeah, there is a specific energy that is created in those safe space. So I really remember that very first sharing, and then the end when the event unfolded. Yeah, I think it was beautiful simply for me to connect with the group and to take part of those beautiful practices, such as the breathwork, the ice bath. I think it was also one of my very first time I was doing it, and then the Temazcal at the end. So yeah, it was a beautiful one, and I think I attended the second one the year after, or a few months afterwards. I remember I've done 2 of those initiation retreats. So yeah, it was yeah, I think highly transformative, the first one. And I remember that the second time, yeah, maybe a little anecdote. My intention on the second time, I think, was a year after. It was for me to step up in my power. I think I even wrote it down in my journal. I want to somehow step up in my power, and I wanted also to have the courage to be on the other side and potentially afterwards facilitate or create space for transformation. That was the year before Kazakhstan. And I believed in one of the circle around the fire. I think we had to actually share our intention. And I mentioned this, and I really felt that. And since that moment, I really feel the power of group intention in such a space. Because when you share that with other men, somehow there is something being sent in the universe, and if you are committed, then things can manifest. And I don't know if you remember, but for me it was quite a strong image. And the moment is at the Temazcal with Miguel. So we had to make 2 lines because we were too many men. And then all the men were forming the first circle, and in the middle there were you and Jack as facilitators. And since there were no enough space, Miguel somehow looked at me and said, you go in the middle as well with you guys. So I was like, wow. I was honored, of course, but somehow it was interesting also based on the intention that I put to step up in my power and to take more facilitator role. Somehow Miguel saw something. He decided to put me in the middle as well, in the inner circle. So that was quite a powerful moment, I remember.
Yeah, I remember that as well, actually. Yeah, that was a tough Temazcal as well, I believe. But you couldn't get enough. You had to go for round 2.
Yeah.
Perhaps this is a good moment to actually dive into what is a Temazcal, because we do get quite some questions around that. The ice bath, it's now kind of it's a common thing. We've seen it on the internet, no doubts, that people jumping in the ice, and Wim Hof is more than popularized cold exposure. But the Temazcal is still, it's a space that has a bit of mystery involved, and it comes from an ancient ritual from the Americas, and we work with a specific facilitator who comes and supports us and guides us through the Temazcal experience. And I'm always, when people ask more information about it, I'm always kind of on the fence between how much mystery do I leave and how much do I speak to what is on offer. I think there's a certain value in kind of really stepping into the unknown. Yet at the same time, I think there's also value in kind of giving a little bit of a context of what it is, or what our intention is in offering such a practice, such a ritual. So maybe you can speak from kind of your experience with the Temazcal, maybe not so much the fine details of what unfolds, but just your experience as a whole. And maybe I can also then speak to a few points that I feel might be useful following that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can share my experience. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, the Temazcal is there to recreate a bit the womb of the woman. So, yeah, I mean, the experience that I had is somehow it is a challenging experience in a way that you are feeling very uncomfortable because I will just explain my experience, it's just a perspective. So,
Sure.
it can be an uncomfortable situation because you have very little space between you and the man, and you stay in the dark for a certain amount of time, and it's very, very hot. So it's not, you don't want to stay there all day. But what I found valuable in this type of settings, also especially with a group of men, is that it really allows you to meet your shadows in a way. And it's really up, I mean, this is my experience, it's really up to you to react, how to say, yeah, it's just basically a challenge in a way that you're facing a shadow, and then it's really up to you to find the right reaction to it, because it's really easy to uh, let your ego thrive, and to start to find ways to abandon or to find ways to escape that uncomfortable moment. Somehow, if you stay still and that you go through it and you face the pain and the fears, then I think it can actually be quite blissful, especially sharing that with other men. So I had two quite positive experiences. Of course, it was very challenging, but somehow I felt internally quite comfortable with it. I had never felt unsafe or in danger for my life. I think the group helped, and also the way Miguel facilitated. But my experience was quite beautiful, and especially sharing that with other men and thinking and supporting each other and sharing, because in those moments some things that you want to share can come up that are very deep and that that can come from childhood or traumas or things like that. So it's a very intimate and intense and bonding moment with other men. So I feel it really makes sense to have such experience in the initiation retreat. I don't know if I explained well, but somehow I started. I wanted to remember the experience, and that's basically how I experienced the Temazcal.
Yeah, I liked your first line of it's uncomfortable. There's not a lot of space. It's hot and it's dark. That about summarizes the Temazcal. Now, to speak a little more about that, you're right. It does it represents the womb of the earth, and I believe that the men in indigenous cultures in the Americas would go into the Temazcal space, whilst the women were on their bleed. Obviously, being in the village, there was a synchronicity in those moments. So the men would go in there and have their own rebirth experience. To say, for me, every single time I've gotten in the Temazcal, it has been a very different experience. And somehow, every single time I'm brought to a new edge. It doesn't matter how much I feel that that I'm prepared, or that I'm ready, or that I'm really in a good place at that moment. There's always layers to be peeled back. There's layers to be let go of, and somehow I find that I'm required to move into a new space of surrender. And I think it's in those moments where we really push it to the edge of that capacity, and yet we still are able to surrender through that and to persevere through that. We can come out of the other side, as you said, really feeling bliss from that experience. Something of me dies each time I enter the Temazcal, and each time I exit, something new is born. Visually, how it looks is, it's a structure. It's built out of trees that are found on the land. At the shanty space, we built this Temazcal. It's covered in a lot of layers of blankets, and there's a big fire out front, which basically heats the stones that are then brought into the Temazcal sweat lodge, where the Temazcalero, the facilitator, will place water onto the stones, the water of life, and the stones will share their wisdom with us, basically. And as you mentioned, there's sharings, there's songs, there's this kind of united experience, and yet at the same time, a very individual journey through this ritual. And maybe we leave it at that for now. Maybe that's enough to sprinkle some knowledge to the listener. But it can be truly transformative. It is the rebirth, and it's the let's say, the pinnacle piece of the initiation retreat that we bring. But of course, we really set up as well the container and the context for really benefiting and valuing from these experiences. There is the need to kind of really have the right framings in place, as well as the necessary physical embodiment skills to process and to move with those learnings, which we bring in through various practices. You've mentioned your deep dive into movement, which is certainly something that we also offer at the initiation. I personally came into movement, my movement journey, through the works of Ido Portal and Fighting Monkey and various other teachers that are in this space, being inspired around movement, but with a focus for me personally on how a physical and embodiment practice can lead to mental and emotional change and development. What I was noticing in my practice is that I wasn't just physically becoming more capable. I wasn't just finding greater physical balance or physical stability, but I was finding a sense of balance and stability that came through other aspects of my life. That kind of questioning eventually led me down the line of somatic therapy, but I still really enjoy the movement practice, and I really enjoy facilitating these sessions around themes. So I wonder, maybe from your side, what's a movement practice? What does it mean for you? How did you get into it? Where has it taken you, and where do you maybe want it to go? You said that this is something you really want to develop and cultivate. So let's bring movement in.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I think during when I was younger, I somehow did different practices. I've been experimenting different sport. I was doing quite a lot of sport when I was young, and then I experimented with various martial arts. And actually, when looking back, what I really liked to learn and to experience in all the different martial arts, I think I been doing like capoeira, also BJJ, and before that some kickboxing and boxing. What I really like is not the confrontation and the winning aspect of it, to be stronger than the other opponent. It's the movement by itself, the beauty of how you use your body and your legs and your core and everything, simply to move in space. And this was really blissful for me. I really enjoyed to do so. And actually, I that was really something that I liked, and that's also why I changed many times martial art, because somehow I felt I wanted to be more complete in that aspect. And also at that moment, now that I'm reflecting, I usually quit after a year or a year and a half as well, because somehow I had this fear of being called to do competition in order to be stronger, and somehow this did not resonate with me, and I was actually trying always to avoid sparring in a way. And it was interesting. I didn't know why. Now I understand why, and actually it will be a good practice for me in the future to be able to consciously do it and be okay with it, because I feel also it's part of my journey today from different aspects of life to be able to confront challenges directly in life, in a way, because I've been always a bit flowy and trying to find ways to move forward with a less confronting solution, I would say.
Mm.
And then I actually, before movement, I did a bit of CrossFit, and somehow I don't want to say negative things about it. I think it's really valuable, but somehow I didn't find purpose in it. Somehow when I was doing to the practice, I was going there a bit mindlessly, and I was just doing the reps and going home, but somehow it was missing something. It was working on the physicality, but not the mental aspect. And I felt that this was there was something missing. And then yes, I discovered a movement through some videos of Video Portal. I remember I was still in Belgium at that moment, and I could not find anything specifically that was similar to that. I think I started in Brussels. I was starting to work with uh, a handstand professional. So I started my movement journey with handstand, and actually I found some. I started to really resonate it because handstand is it's a pretty powerful exercise that combines everything: strength, balance, and also focus. And somehow this also allowed me to be more centered and gave me also an objective in my movement practice. And then when I moved to Lisbon, I was fortunate to discover Movement Lisboa, held by Tiago and Andre. And that's really where I started to dive deep into movement and to be in touch with different practices that I'm learning through Movement Lisboa, but also being in touch with contemporary dance, acrobatics, and so on. So I felt it was really what I needed. I felt it very complete. And in a way, each time I was going through a practice, after that, I always felt really, really good in my body. It was really a way for me to, movement was really my medicine to let go, to process things, through the body. I always had a good feeling of bliss after practices. And as you mentioned, I think it's not only the physicality. I think it also helps to process things emotionally, to unstuck things that are stored in the body, and also to, especially in my case, also to nurture creativity that I felt when I was starting. When I started movement, I really felt I needed something more creative rather than physical. So I think, my movement practice, it was not only to learn movement sequences and reps. It was also what I like, the aspect of combining everything and be creative with all of that and have fun and move the body and dance as well. So um, I feel I've been a bit all over the place. I don't know if it really answers your question, but maybe if I look back a few years ago, I was really scared of dancing. I was not comfortable dancing. I had low confidence with my body, and also somehow dancing in public sober was really hard. I remember that I needed a few drinks in order to go on the dance floor, and now I don't have that anymore. I feel confident in my body, and I don't need alcohol. I don't drink anymore actually for years, and it has been amazing how the movement practices gave me also confidence in life because you can really also see it as a metaphor of life. Through the practice, you can really try to overcome challenges in your life because a movement that you can learn can be quite difficult. So many times I was facing this moment, okay, I want to abandon, it's too hard for me, but it's actually there is learning, because if you overcome this and you progress and you unlock something, this can happen the same in life. When you meet life challenges, this is about how you react to the challenges. So movement was actually helping me to overcome fears and to go through certain situations.
Yeah, we meet the world as a body, through our body, with our body. It's even with all of the tech and all of the AI and all of these things, we still interface with technology through our body for the time being. The body is the means by which we do anything in the world. And I think, I resonate with this idea of the movement practice being a vehicle for cultivating particular qualities, for overcoming particular challenges and obstacles, cultivating creativity, for example, or overcoming particular fears. And I feel there's a way in which this occurs. There's an idea in the ecological psychology world around the field of affordances, and essentially this tells about the different optionality that one has when they're moving through an environment. For example, this cup, affords me the possibility of drinking from it, if I am a human with hands. But if I'm not a human with hands, this cup doesn't really afford the opportunity to use it as a vessel for water. But I can also use it to put my pencils in, or my toothbrush. There's multiple things that this object affords me. Likewise, the staircase, likewise, the rail when you're walking through the park, likewise, tree branches, likewise, various environmental features that are available. And when we develop our capacity for movement through practice, through exploration, curiosity, creativity, these objects that are in our environment, they're not just objects anymore. They kind of take on a new meaning. All of a sudden, the rail is a possibility of balancing and vaulting and hanging and swinging, and the tree has all these different routes for climbing and jumping, and the staircase can be, all the different things that you can do in all of these environmental features. The world kind of opens up a little bit more. All of a sudden, the railing is not a barrier or a restriction. It's not an obstacle. The staircase is not this giant thing to be summited. These elements of our environment become the tools of play, become vehicles for play. And I see that in cultivating a movement practice, in particular, as you touched on this kind of more generalist idea of a movement practice, what kind of qualities exist throughout all practices that really help to develop, the self in the sense of how we engage with the world. But this also carries across to, the emotional and the mental landscapes of our lives as well, the social landscapes of our lives. If we are able to unlock and open the world in the physical sense, I mean, the body and mind, they're a unity. It's the body mind. So whatever we unlock on a physical sense, we can bet that there's some kind of mental kind of opening as well that goes with that. And maybe that transforms itself into possibilities through communication, what I can say to you instead of what I can't say to you, how I can solve creatively mental problems that I come up against in my day-to-day life. So the value of a movement practice for me, it's been essential part of my journey. Likewise to you, I all of my process of transformation has first originated in the body, and then it's translated itself and transmuted itself into other aspects of our life. But I wonder, for the person who hasn't got an idea of what a movement practice is or how they can go about cultivating it, what would be kind of the first points of contact someone might have with movement? Like, what's the best entry points? What kind of advice would you give somebody, a student of yours, for example, that's come from a background where they've lacked physicality? Like, where would you get that person started, or what advice would you give to that person?
Yeah, good question. I think, I don't know if this will answer directly your question, but I think a way really to be inspired and a good introduction movement. It's simply to, at least it was my journey, simply to observe how kids move in a playground. I think basically doing everything that we're doing in a movement practice, which is hanging, which is locomoting, which is moving on the floor. So yeah, being a movement practitioner is really to use the body in a way that you use your physicality in your advantage in your everyday life. So if you have lacking physical capacity, then a movement practice can help you actually to be more creative in the way you move, because actually the practice is, you don't have to have a specific background in order to do so. You can be of any age. You can have a physical sport background or not. There are always ways for you to learn a bit more about how you can move efficiently and use your body more efficiently in order to achieve whatever goals you have. But I think, observing child is actually a good way to start, I would say, and mimic them and simply play with them, even if it may seem silly. Actually, they are the best teachers into also bringing playfulness, because movement really brought me back playfulness in my practice. Because before it was in a way, when I was that was how I approached it. When I was doing CrossFit or martial art, it was very serious. I had to learn new movement. I had to be on my guard, and I had to have the right techniques to do so, to lift the weights. And movement is really playful, and a good example, I think, was I really like the way what you mentioned, that it gives us so different perspective in approaching different objects. Because I remember I was with a friend and his son at the beach last year, and we had two body surf, and we wanted basically our sons to do body surf. But actually, the way they used body surf was amazing. They used the body surf as a shield, and they were doing a battle of sandball. So that's actually a very creative manner to use that body surf. And it was amazing. We were doing two teams, and we were actually playing with sandball and without shield. So that was mind blowing for you. That was beautiful to notice, and it's a good example, because I was only seeing the body surf as a tool to body surf, and they found a way to do something else with it and to have fun. And I don't know if it answers the question, but I think let me know if you want me to be more on some specific aspect or not.
I really like that reference to children. There's something innate about a child where they just want to explore things. Like, they haven't yet been locked in by what we tell them. No, this thing is for body surfing only, right? It's like, for them, they maybe they didn't even understand that it was for body surfing in the outset. They see potential in objects. And I think as we start to get older, we lose a little bit of that capacity to imagine. We become rigid of like, okay, no, now it's just a body surf. Now that railing is just, to stop me from walking in that direction. But through this practice of movement, we are tapping into something that's expansive, and the horizons, the possibility is really opens before us. And I think this is not a small part of the retreat, right? I think this is actually quite significant, being able to use ourselves in a different kind of way. I think that skill is highly translatable and transferable to a man in his everyday life, and maybe kicks off a practice and where he might start to continue on that trajectory and cultivate his own practice, whatever that looks like for him. Practice as well. This word has kind of come up, in reference to movement, but I wonder, what is your sense of practice? It's actually one of the values that we have of Alchemy Brothers is this idea of practice. Maybe we can paint a little picture about what practice actually is.
Yeah. I think for me, having a regular practice, whatever it is, has been a compass for me to get things done. I don't like to use the word routine, but I think for me, having like a regular morning practice where I slowly wake up the body with steps, where I meditate, where I open my voice as well, has been important for me to be in the right mindset to start my day. And I think those are valuable tools to navigate life in a way. Similar to if we think about the movement practice, having a regular personal practice is so important to improve in a way, because it helps you to have consistency, and is what makes the difference in everything, to be consistent and have discipline into whatever you want to approach and learn and improve. So that's the way I see the word practice, is so in a way that that you need to be committed, and if you want to offer something, it's important that you see and lead by example. And only with regular practice you can go there and be legitimate to do something or to offer, share something.
Yeah, I see practice for me as it's kind of like a laboratory in a way, where I'm kind of investigating myself and bringing what I need in that moment as well. And I also have an aversion to the word routine necessarily, but there is something about consistency to be said. And there's a time and a place for bringing in daily consistent meditation or breath work or movement or whatever the focus is. But then also, life happens and things occur. You have a baby, and then all of a sudden your practice goes out the window. Then for me, it's a question of like, how can I then improvise with the elements that I've been experimenting with in my practice, but now I don't have the consistency because a baby is very inconsistent, let's say. How can I then weave in elements of my practice such that I'm still meeting my needs and I'm still able to kind of dance and play and improvise with those characteristics? And so for me, particularly in the last months, but also over the course of my year, it's kind of this dance between kind of the more discipline based practice through to the more improvisational based practice, the kind of the more of the flow. I wonder how that kind of lands for you as well.
Yeah, I think I feel it's also for practice to nurture myself. I think it's important to be able to refine it based on the current situation you're living, or based on the challenges you're facing. So it's a constant refinement in a way, based on where you are at in life. So I completely resonate with that, and I think I don't know if it's comparable, but I somehow, when you said practice, is also brings me to the word sadhana, that has been used a lot to dedicate. I think it was said that it was important to dedicate at least 2.5 hours per day to a sadhana, to a specific practice, if you think about spiritual practice. But I think this resonates also a lot with the word practice we're referring to. So I think it's too important to have a daily practice in which we dedicate time to explore and to what we need or what nurtures us, and to be explorative and see how this can be used, and how this can be also the motor into the project we want to achieve or start.
So we've been touching upon some of the elements of or the component parts of the retreat, but to again, bring to the minds of the listeners that the initiation retreat is coming up in April. I think we're 3.5 weeks out at this point, and as I mentioned, V will be with us on the facilitation team. What are you most excited for about the retreat? What are you hoping to bring? What would you like to share? Maybe pull any of those threads that you like.
Well, I think I'm excited overall to be part of it and share maybe tools that help me actually lately to navigate through life, and to help me to come back closer to who I am really, and what I really like to do. So I think I will be happy to offer some practices, some movement practices, and also be happy to also bring my guitar and to hold some musical sessions with the brothers, and simply hold space and be available for any man. So I'm really excited to do that, and to be invited to be part of the Alchemy Brothers team, and really looking forward to the April retreat. So I've been, as I mentioned, I joined 2 initiation retreats, and I can highly recommend it. I think it's highly transformative, and I'm sure anyone will be able to bring something valuable to home and meet amazing people. I think I'm still in touch with quite some men that I met during the initiate retreat. So there are meaningful connections that are being made at that retreat.
Yeah, me too. I feel very blessed to kind of be part of this as well, and to be holding the spaces, and to have met so many incredible brothers that have come through this community, and also to witness some of the work that they've all gone on to kind of do. And really, really appreciate the times that I get to reconnect and rekindle those friendships. So if we've been speaking around some of the elements of the retreat, if your interest has been taken by what we've been sharing, if you're ready to separate yourself from the way that you are now, the familiar, the habitual, and if you're ready to make some kind of a change, bring about some kind of transformation, whether that's in your relationships, whether that's in your personal life, whether that's trying to overcome particular challenges or obstacles, maybe it's just the sense of brotherhood and community that you're seeking, then we call you to the initiation in April 11 to 14. And reach out to us if you have any questions, please, and let's get the conversation happening. But other than that, V, it's been a pleasure to have you here today, and to be able to talk with you. And I'm sure this is the first of many conversations to come.
Thank you, Jacob. It was a pleasure for me to be here with you.
All right. That's all, folks. Thanks for listening.